Good evening. Good evening. We've been speaking a lot on contracts. We've been talking about tenders in the last class. We saw that pre-qualification is required. Pre-qualification is two kinds because based on previous experience or jobs what you did. The other thing is where you pre-qualify technically, then you have to pre-qualify financially. Once you pre-qualify financially, in the sense that you are L1 bidder. Typically for all the government jobs it's the L1 bid. For other bids, other contracts, it's more like where you are able to justify your choice in going even for a costlier bidder based on probably certain criteria. One of the things we could also do is the decision of the owner is final and bidding and binding, sorry. So when you put it in that terms, usually means that it closes all room for argument. These are the stages of tendering. You find that there are multiple parties involved in tendering. One is the contractor, other is the owner. Sometimes a consultant is involved, many consultants are involved depending on the scale of the operation. Now, one of the biggest questions which is being asked in many of the projects is, should subcontractors be involved in the decision making process? Because end of the day, the contractor might do the job, then they go for the subcontractors, and the contractor might again have to float tenders, again choose between the parties who are technically qualifying. Because when they are getting a product, okay, the product should meet the parent tender documents condition. It needs to be satisfying the parent tender documents condition. So the number of people, number of stages which are involved also the subcontractors. So should they be involved at the beginning of the project or just at the time when they are required to be brought in? This is another thing which we think about. One of the organizations where I was working, what we do is we will float tenders when or inquiries when we are working on the tender. We will make an agreement stating that if your product, when you give your code and your code is the one which we use for proceeding on the bid, then sure we will come to you with the for getting the product. However, you need to do this. So that is an agreement which we signed even in the pre-tender stage with some of our vendors. Just putting this across to you for you to think about this. Now, owner closes the tender, the contractors or the interested parties purchase the tender document or download the tender document, go through it, see suppose they can bid for it. And then they submit their quotes. They have to do their working. All the people are doing their working. The owner is doing working before floating the tender. The bidder downloads the tender, thus is working. Afterwards, they have negotiation. Both the parties need to bank their credit. And finally, they go for the bid. So, once this is done, the evaluation is done, then they see that everything is not a day about the. Now today we are going to see something very small about project finance. Again, contract business. So somebody pays for the work. Who pays for the work? Sorry? Client pays for the work? Great. Okay. Always the client pays for the work. See, whenever a person is investing money, they are expecting returns. Almost like a person going and sowing a mango seed. How many mangoes do they expect in return? They are only sowing one seed. They are only planting one seed. How many seeds, what is the return they expect? Sorry? That is a very generic question. You can put whatever number, all the answers are correct. Okay? Yeah, it can be 100, it can be much more than that also. But in any case, look at the return we get for that mango seed. Okay. Suppose I am sowing rice. For sowing one rice, I expect maybe 100 or 1000 grains of rice in return. Right? When you sow one grain of rice, Okay. So the amount of time I wait for getting the return, 6 months. Okay, 6 months will be 1 year max or max. Okay. So now this is what we are doing here also. When you are investing money, okay, you are trying to get returns. Okay. You may get short-term returns, you may get long-term returns. But somebody who is expecting returns is the one who typically finances the work. Very rarely. I again say very rarely. You people are so stupid that they give money without expecting anything in return. Okay. Like for example, post tsunami, I am going to construct houses free of cost. Okay. Still he is paying for it, but what I am trying to overall put is there is no returns which is coming. Okay. But whenever somebody is paying for the work and expecting a return for their investment. Okay. So this is again the thing. In all your contracts, this particular paper will not be useful unless there is a tendering process involved. Bidding, tendering is your project name, is your paper name. So suppose there is no contract involved, there is no benefit. So the whatever is being promised in return for some work to be done, it has to be fulfilled. See, whenever there is a financial commitment involved, there are a few things which we look at. Firstly, there is an out-of-pocket commitment. Suppose you are going to do work, typically you will need to do the work before you are being paid for it. Right? You go to Walmart, okay, you don't pay money and get the afterwards you go and get the stuff. You go and pick the stuff up, wait for the bill to be generated, and then only you are going to take the payments. Right? Any difference in opinion on this? So this is a typical thing which happens in all the tenders. Okay, again, maybe there is a longer credit period. For example, 30 days credit period or so on and so forth. But there is an out-of-pocket commitment by somebody. Might be the supplier, might be the main contractor, or there may be also this early bird bookings done. Right? We will come to that a little later. Second thing which we look at is the payback period. Like we started the decision on whether we are going to use your field for getting a yield of mango or rice. When you are going to make a decision, you are going to make a very big decision. For example, suppose you are going to finance a hydroelectric power plant. Okay. How many years will it take to do the construction? Sorry? Depending on the size of the project. It is depending on the size of the project. So that means, as long as the construction is being done, there is no chance of money to be generated. Only when the first unit of energy is being produced and sold, very important thing, and being sold, you are going to get money. It's not enough to get a project on boot or whatever. The moment the first car pays toll, then only you are going to be able to make money. Okay. So this means the payback period also when you start getting investment is one thing. For how many years you are going to get the return on the money is another thing. See, for example, if you are going to construct a flat apartment complex. So suppose there are 1,000 apartments, you will be probably getting money from various sources constructing it. This has to be sold within say 1 year. If you sell within 1 year, your payback period is 1 year. Suppose you are getting a concession for 30 years for the collection of toll, payback period is 30 years. So typically what we try to do, we try to reduce the duration when your money is, capital is idle. If your capital is idle for a short time, you are able to pay your investors money early. So you are going to find investors more readily. Again, there is this average annual rate of return. Suppose you are doing a hydroelectric power plant. The summer months probably the water level is very low, so you will not be able to generate as much power as the other seasons. Same thing with wind. 3 or 4 months the turbine is still not even turning. So is it going to be feasible for you to start a project? These are some of the things which you think about. Okay, fine, 3 months. Chalo, even if it's not working, I don't mind it. I still go and do my investment. So you are going to be always faced with risks, and you are going to always remember that you are going to pack in your risks. So whatever the money you are selling to the customer, whatever is the risk which you are estimating, that also should be put in your cost. Now there is a very interesting thing, time value of money. Money has different value at different points of time in probably the life cycle of a project or so many other things. Money is very helpful to compare two things. For example, comparing between brand A of cement and brand B of cement is possible because parameters are the same. This is what we call as an apple to apple comparison. You can't compare the value of an apple with the value of a say bitter gourd. The bitter gourd has a value, different value. Apple has a different value. Today, for example, can I compare apple with onion? Onion is being sold at 250 rupees per kilo, but apple is 120, right? So this means that whenever dissimilar materials are there, money helps to equalize the playing field. Suppose you are doing a project for $1 billion, okay, and then that is one player. Okay, another fellow is doing for 10,000 crores. Now, is 10,000 crores equivalent to $1 billion US dollars? Are the two companies of the same scale? This is another way by which you compare two things which probably under normal circumstances you cannot compare. Okay. However, we cannot compare all the products. What is the value? What is the value of land? Land, the same land 25 years ago when VAT started would have had a different value. Okay. Today, opposite your this one. Okay. Can you think of the cost of a Xerox shop or a juice shop? Yeah. So what has happened to the same item with time? You are going to have an interesting output. Same thing. Time value of money goes in another tangent also. Suppose you are going to take a loan for a project. Okay. What happens to the value of the money if you are taking for 10 years, 20 years or 50 years? Okay. Today credit cards interest rate has been hiked to 42%. That means if you don't pay 1 rupee in 1 year, your interest is 42 paise. Okay, nobody is having a credit balance of 1. I mean, they don't take a loan of 1 rupee anymore, right? Okay, I still remember my grandmother used to have these coins. 8 paise coin was like silver and other things. I still have a few of those coins. Okay, now 1 rupee was actually having a lot of value at one point of half paise. I got half paise coin, 40 paise coins. Okay, so now coming back to your lecture, your money, when it is being put for interest, it is having different values over different periods of time. So that means if you are taking a loan, you need to see how much will be my interest. Suppose I take it for so many years. See, if suppose you look at one of the very stupid decisions which I did was, when I came to Vellore, I thought of buying air conditioner. Okay, I wanted to buy a very nice air conditioner, so I took it at 50,000 rupees. I also realized I have moving expenses. I have not saved money. I didn't expect that I would be moving out. That's another thing. It was unforeseen, or it was more like I fancied the job to 80. I got it, I jumped. Now, for this air conditioner, I thought, okay, 50,000 rupees per month. What is the thing if I take it on EMI for 5 years? So when I looked at it, it seemed very this one, EMI for 5 years, work to some 1,200 rupees per month. Okay, something very, it looked very small. But for 5 years. Okay. Now when you do the math, okay, 1,200 into 60 is the amount which I pay. In other words, the interest was significantly, I think it was 1,800, not 1,800. To take about 2,000 rupees per month, that seems very less. But I took it for 5 years. Okay. Now don't worry about the exact amount. But what I am trying to put across to you is the same loan, and I taken it for 1 year. It would have been costing me different. Might have cost me different for 2 years, so on and so forth. So when you are taking the time value of money, please look at all of these things. Okay. How is it going to vary with time? Okay. And sometimes you try to make sense out of things like, oh, maybe the intrinsic value of the item will go up, I sell it to traders at a much higher rate. That also is possible. I don't know how you are going to think about this. Now, suppose you take a loan at a very nominal rate of interest, invest it in some other high return scheme, your lender is losing. The person lending money is losing. Okay, but it is being smart. You are being smart. Maybe you are putting it in some bonds which are yielding you interest. Okay, suppose I am going to need 100 crores for a project. I take the 100 crores. First month or first year I need 10 crores. 90 crores I invest in a project which gives me say 25% returns. Okay. The loan might be taken at 15% rate of interest, but then I am going to get back 25% rate of interest. So this is the way by which you can work smart. But remember, if you are getting a high interest, the risk involved is higher. The risk involved is that much higher when you lend at a when you expect to get high returns. See, this is what usually happens. People will get loans without giving proper collateral because they are not having enough things to put as a guarantee. So this is one of the things. So of course, suppose you take a loan or somebody takes a loan from you, you have to run the risk of them not repaying you. You even might up losing the capital which you put out. Okay. So these are some of the ways by which value could change with time. How a person perceives a particular item which you have with time. It might be in the form of land, it might be in the form of a building, or anything else for that. Now, we are having a very interesting diagram. This is a cash flow diagram. Okay. Whenever you are taking an economic decision, this is what will help you. This side. Okay. And what is this decision you are doing? Initially, you are spending some money. That's all in the red. It's all in the red. Along the life of the project, you are going to get money. Okay, maybe you have spent some money over here. Okay, you have spent a lot of money over here in the initial stages. Okay, slowly what happens with time? So now you raise a bill and then this payment has been done. Again, you have made a lot of investment, you are again making some bills, raising some bills, money is coming. Now with time, your expenses keep reducing, but then the income starts to increase. It is going to level out all the losses which you made or incurred earlier. All the losses which you incurred earlier is slowly starting to get evened out. Now look at this. Suppose you are a builder. You have bought a piece of land from a third party. So you have paid some money to the person. Then you tell the person, look, I'll give you 3 flats in return and 1 crore as cash. 3 flats plus 1 crore. When does the person get the 3 flats? After all the flats are completed. So he is happy. So now he has spent 1 crore. Then for getting the permissions, he has spent some more money. Now what happens? There may be some advertisements where it say first 100 flats you don't have to pay for the modular kitchen. We see these ads, we will do the free modular kitchen and 2 air conditioners, so on and so forth. So what happens? Some people get attracted towards that claim and then they come and pay the advance. So this is the first money which they get. It is not too much, but still it is something. So with time what happens? The amount of construction they really require to do keeps on reducing. So you can see at these points the value is keep on reducing and more number of people start to buy. Typically what happens, so the flat gets completed, more number of people come to buy and the cost of each unit starts to go up. Initially at the opening stage you have a certain amount. As you keep going on, you start to what we call as increase the rate of each unit. Okay, so this is what happens. So towards the end, maybe only 1 or 2 units are remaining, but all the things which happen here is profit. Now what is this blue line? The blue line first shows that we are losing money initially, but later on it keeps on increasing to the profit which you look forward to. So at each point, all the negative plus all the positive will be the resulting graph. All the negatives plus all the outages, all the things that go out of your pocket and whatever the income, you keep on adding. The resultant thing is your blue color line. Now, if you are making a graph like this, you can say, okay, the 4th year for example, I am starting to make money. But till the 4th year, I need to keep making so much of payments. From where will this money come? From where will this money come? So you like to be able to take a loan exactly for 3 years, repay the loan and then start to make profits. Because whatever the loan interest will be according to the rate. Okay. So you guys can take a decision based on this. Suppose there is a work happening, subcontractor has done all the work. If you don't make the payment, he can take you to court. When he takes you to court, you find that the court cost, if you lose, so the court cost of the person who raised the litigation has also to be borne by you. Okay, so you don't want such a shameful thing to happen. You don't want people to think, this construction company is not trustworthy, I will not give my job to them. So this is what happens in a typical project. You have to understand the cash flow diagram. So if it is a government project, is World Bank going to fund me? Is there some other company is going to fund me? See, one of the companies which I was working earlier, they have their own financing wing. So what happened was the financing wing will give short-term loans at very high value, but it is almost interest free for 2 weeks or 1 month. Within 1 month, if you don't pay the money, the interest rate was 30 or 40% literally, almost like getting a loan from credit card, right? But what are the benefit? All the money is within the company only, right? I am having John Construction Company. I have another one, John Financing Services. So I borrow from John Financing Services, fund the project. Even if I am losing interest, it's again going to John's funding, right? Okay, look here. Can you think of any big company which is having such a system? See, for example, Reliance is having its own insurance wing, it is having its own construction wing, it is having its own communication wing. Okay, so this kind of money maybe we don't have at this stage, but maybe you can think, right? You start off today, your own company, your children. That's what's happening now. Anil and this one, their children are only enjoying, right? So the father is the one who did all the hard work. Yeah, you can think of it as a long-term goal, a very successful model. Okay, you can have a 5-story apartment with a helipad on top, right? Great. So these are some of the funding sources. You can get your profits from various endeavors to fund your ventures. Okay, you may be doing 10 other projects. The profits from those projects can be funding your current venture. Okay, you can get pre-launch investors. You can say, you come, see for example, if you are going to be like a group of people, a group of industries which rent out real estate. Okay, you can tell, you come and get a, this one from our rent out your space from our building, we will give you so much of concession for the next 50 years. Okay. So this is an example of a pre-launch investor. They come before the launch of the project or where they tell us this project is going to come out. So they can have any kind of belief, they can come with any kind of demand, and typically they are going to get away with that, right? Sorry? Yeah. So you can get funding from formal sources like banks. Okay. These are agencies which have rules and regulations which govern their lending and borrowing, of course. You can get some private equity, some from private people can fund your enterprise. There may be other investors, maybe a foreign investor who is interested to do some angel funding, give some startup grant to you. And the other thing is informal, like the money lenders who will lend you money without much collateral but at very high rates of interest. All of these are available to you. Which is it that you want to choose? That is in your hands. So financial institutions, IDBI, IFCI, HDFC, FC is actually Housing Development and Housing Development Funding Corporation, I think. And IDBI is Industrial Development Bank of India. Okay, so like this there are a lot of ICICI Industrial Credit Investment Corporation of India. Okay, so all of these actually became banks, funding agencies. They came into retail banking. Otherwise, most likely we would have been not even hearing of them. Okay, so very quickly we are seeing. When we will have a recap, we saw that there are a lot of agencies which are ready to do the funding. They fund at different terms. Some may fund you at a very low capital, others may fund interest, others may fund you at a very high interest. Whether you are going to be able to make that much money is in your hands. How you take the money which you are taken as loan, make it work for the project is again in your hands. Okay, people could buy your whatever is your product, maybe a flat, maybe an office space, or it might wait for you to complete everything and then take it up. So you can probably take different rates for different people. So at the end of the day, we need funding. So funding can be from your own self, where you do from the profits of other projects, or you can look for investors. Typically going for investors is better because the risk is getting shared, right? The risk is getting shared. If something goes wrong, it's not your money which is getting lost in all its entity. Somebody's money is also there, so your risk is getting shared. Of course, your profits are also again what? Divided. You may not get all the profit which you wanted to make. There is a little bit of cutting of the profits. Okay. So any questions, please? Not really. Stop by saying thank you.